First thing I want to ask you guys tonight, obviously this is a title, Understanding the Neurological Effects of Chiropractic and the Causes of Chronic Pain. Why would this topic be important? Why is it important in the society that we live in right now?
Chronic pain is so common for people.
Yeah.
Everybody's got it.
It seems that way, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody hear of the opioid epidemic?
Yeah.
The meds.
Yeah, 500,000 people have died because of that. And most of them were prescribed opioids because of this. They had pain. It wasn't treated. It was never, most of the time, the underlying cause was never even looked at. Okay, so they were given opioids. Now we've got 500,000 people dead. And the question I would ask you, can you imagine if chiropractic killed 500,000 people? We wouldn't even have a profession. We'd be in jail. Okay, so this is really a really important topic. So tonight we're going to talk about some of the reasons why we get chronic pain, and number two is how does chiropractic affect the brain, and how does the brain affect chronic pain? So chronic pain, they're difficult to quantify, the statistics. I've looked at in several places. Depending on the study, 65 to 100 million Americans suffer from chronic pain on a regular basis. So we have about, I think, 325 to 345 million people. So, we're maybe looking at 20% of all Americans. So you just go to a mall or go anywhere and just start counting, and every fifth person has pain, chronic pain. That's a lot of people. I mean, when I was growing up, my mother had chronic pain, and that's because until she discovered chiropractic, and that really totally changed her life. But most people didn't have chronic pain growing up. I remember in the 60s when I was in high school, you just didn't hear of people having chronic pain. 8% have high impact chronic pain, which means it limits a life activity. And chronic pain affects more Americans than diabetes, cancer, and heart disease combined. Although I would say that diabetes is probably a source of chronic pain. People that have blood sugar issues. 11 to 13% of adults suffer from chronic widespread pain. It's pain on both sides of their body, above and below the waist, and pain in the axial region, which means the skeleton, the spine. And this is from the journal Pain, 2016. So one known trigger of chronic widespread pain is motor vehicle accidents. Car accidents probably precipitate chronic pain as much as any single thing out there. If you're an older female with a high body mass index and lower levels of education, I'm not sure what that has to do with it. That's a typical profile of someone who develops chronic pain after a car accident. Now, let me ask you this. Why wouldn't it tend to be men? Why wouldn't men tend to develop chronic pain after a car accident?
They're stronger.
Yeah, great answer. Yeah, we have larger neck muscles, just bigger, bulkier muscles. So, the injuries don't tend to be as acute in men. So, this particular study demonstrated that people in automobile accidents who do not recover from chronic widespread pain usually have the cause to be a central neurobiological mechanism, and we're going to show you what that is in just a few minutes. So when somebody's in an automobile accident, what happens within 0.3 of a second, 300 milliseconds, the neck whips back and forth, and you can literally lose the curve in the neck and develop an abnormal curve in the neck within 0.3 of a second. Happens so fast you don't even know it. So chronic idiopathic pain, idiopathic means you don't know where it came from, are a major cause of suffering, disability, and societal expense. And usually when you have pain in one region of the body, you have pain in other regions also. So is there a biochemical cause of pain? And the answer is yes. Now this is going to be really, really important. So bad intake of the wrong kinds of fatty acids or too much of a wrong kind of fatty acid can cause dietary pain. So dietary linoleic acid, what's linoleic acid, by the way? Does anybody know where that comes from? Remember the term oleo when we were growing up? Okay. Linoleic acid is basically vegetable oil. It comes from corn oil, safflower oil, canola oil, cottonseed oil. That's what it is. Okay. So this is from a journal called Molecular Pain 2016. Basically what they're saying is too much of these vegetable oils in the diet are one of the causes for chronic pain in the body. So I'll show you why that is. So there's a chemical in the body called eicosanoids. Eicosanoids are hormones that are synthesized from 20 carbon-long polyunsaturated fatty acids. And in their 1996 book, Protein Power, they said eicosanoids are a gang of at least 100 powerful hormone-like substances that control virtually all physiological actions in your body, meaning blood pressure. It can control how much saliva you make. I mean, so many processes in the body. And the most important thing about eicosanoids is they keep them in balance. So eicosanoids, these chemicals, are made from fats, the fat you eat. So let me ask you this. Don't you think that maybe it's important to understand how fat affects the body? If eicosanoids are made from fat, and these eicosanoids are responsible for chronic pain, don't you think it might be important to understand some of this stuff? Mm-hmm. That's why I do this talk, okay? Because sometimes people have chronic pain by what they're eating. It's a diet thing, okay? And if they can get that under control, they can really eliminate a lot of their problems. Okay, another issue with eicosanoids, they control inflammation. So you have the wrong kind of fats, it makes the wrong kind of eicosanoids. It controls inflammation, it raises inflammation, and it raises pain. So, eicosanoids are the most powerful agents to affect humans, yet they are totally controlled by the diet. Eicosanoids exert major effects in just about everything that goes on in the body. Good eicosanoids, anti-inflammatory. Bad eicosanoids, inflammatory. So what would be an example of a fat that would make a good eicosanoid?
Omega-3 fatty acids?
Yeah, omega-3 fats. Now, we need omega-6 fats in our diet. I'm not telling you never to eat them. It's just that we get too many of them. We get way too many, and it throws our body out of balance. What's another really bad fat that people get in their diet that they get too much of? Anybody? How about trans fats?
No,
You ever have trans fats?
Mm-hmm.
Where do we get those from?
Fried foods.
Hmm?
Fried foods.
Fried foods, margarine. Yeah. So trans fats are even worse than your corn oil, because and I'll get to why that is in a minute. So, listen, I think that the Chick-fil-A spicy chicken sandwiches are really pretty good. They are good. They taste good, but they're full of the wrong kind of fat. Okay, and it's those kind of foods that are killing our culture. So the high linoleic content of modern industrialized diets, which means industrialized fats, create biochemical susceptibility to develop chronic pain. You should never, have these fats in your kitchen, ever. Okay? So you cook with olive oil, coconut oil. What are some of the other oils? Those are the main two that we cook with. Sesame oil is pretty good. Avocado oil is good. Those are the ones you use. You don't use these for anything. Okay, so this basically says that diet is the cause of a lot of fatty acid imbalances in the body, and a lot of those fatty acid imbalances cause pain. There's a typical food that people would eat that imbalances your fats, and I guarantee you, this sauce right here is also full of bad fats. Okay, it's not just this, it's also this.
So what about animal fats like lard?
I don't think it's a problem.
Okay.
I don't think that's that big of a deal. No, saturated fat. We've been told that it is.
Right.
But we've been lied to about a whole lot of things, and that's one of the things we've been lied to about. No, I don't worry about that at all.
Okay.
You know, when we cook meat at home, man, I eat it all. I eat the fat, I eat everything, you know, especially if it's grass-fed.
Yep.
So omega-6 fatty acids are distributed in these places. Epididymis, which is male reproductive organs, esophagus, muscles, duodenum, bladder, central nervous system, spinal cord. So think about this. What's the nervous system primarily made up of?
Fat.
Yeah, it's fat. Your brain is primarily fat, okay? That's what it's made up of. So can you see how if you have the wrong kind of fats in your diet, which most people do, that could cause pain, since pain is derived from the central nervous system? Absolutely. Yeah. What else could it cause? Think about it. If your brain has the wrong kind of fat, what else could that cause? And this is, by the way, the answer to this question has been researched pretty well. Anybody? How about depression? How about schizophrenia? How about violent antisocial behavior? We know now, because of the research, that bad brain fats cause mental illness and mental problems. Now I'm going to show you a little bit more of that here in just a minute. But think about it. If your brain and your spinal cord is primarily fat, and you're eating the wrong kinds of that, it's like, how should I say, if you try and make something with the wrong kind of material, it's going to turn out right. Okay, like if you're going to bake a cake, okay, what do you need to bake a cake? Because I know you're a good
Flour,
cook.
sugar, baking soda,
Eggs.
vanilla, eggs, milk.
Yeah, right. So if you put like, let's say you're going to make a cake, would you say 2 cups of flour, 3 cups of flour?
Yes.
Okay, you don't make
Yes.
desserts. Okay, yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
I don't.
Okay. So what if you put 2 cups of flour and a cup of plaster of Paris in there? How do you think the cake would turn out?
It'd be a brick.
Yes.
It would not be good.
No, it would
okay?
not be good. No.
You got to have the right things, okay? The same way, you got to have the right things to make the organs in your body. You got to have them work right. So if you look at omega-3 fatty acid ratios, this is omega-6 to omega-3, okay? Back in the days, let's go back to the time of like Noah, you know, that time, you had a 1-to-1 ratio, okay, of omega-6 to omega-3. I mean, that is a good ratio. By the turn of the century, 1900, the ratio had increased to about 4-to-1. Okay, still not bad, by the way. The current American ratio is 25-to-1. Okay, it should be at least this, 4-to-1. So if it's 25-to-1, which is about 6 times higher than it should be, then you can understand why so many people are inflamed and in pain. All right? The sharp rise is due to an increase in vegetable oil consumption from 2 pounds a year in 1909 to 25 pounds a year in 1985. I looked up, I tried to find what it would be now. I bet it's double this now. I would not be surprised if it's double this. Okay, and we have a test in here that we can determine what this ratio is and where you are and on the fatty acid scale. And I just did this on a man not too long ago who had chronic blood clots in his legs. He's a little younger than me, and he takes a very powerful drug for that. And he came into me, he says, you know, could you help me figure out something else for my legs other than this drug, because I know it's going to damage my organs. My medical doctors tell me that. So I got online and I looked around. I started looking up some research, and I found out that fatty acid imbalances can cause blood clots in the legs. So I called a pathologist over at the lab I used, and I talked to him about that, and he goes, I said, I found this article. He says, could you tell me where that is? He never heard of it. He's a pathologist. So I gave him the article and where he could find it, and gave the article to my patient, said, I think we need to do a fatty acid test, and sure enough, he's way out of balance. So let's look at the neurological basis of chronic pain. So the last 40 years, neuroscience shows this, and I'm just getting, we don't have to read all of this, but basically what this is saying is that our brain is very adaptable, and we know that. Sometimes it adapts fast, sometimes it adapts slowly, but when it adapts, sometimes the neurons, the actual cells in our brain change. So give me an example of fast adaptation and slow adaptation. Can you think of one right off? I can think of a lot of slow adaptation, but the fast one's a little harder. Give me an example of when your brain adapts pretty fast.
In an emergency situation.
It can? How about when you're sitting at an airport or someplace that's really noisy and you're trying to read, and over time your brain just tunes that noise out? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's pretty fast. Slow adaptation, me taking guitar lessons for 7 years, It's way slower than I wanted it to be, okay? But slow adaptation is playing a musical instrument, okay? You learn, most people, unless you're, Beethoven, learn that slowly over a period of time, and your brain readapts to that. It makes new pathways, okay? So that's what this is all about. Your central nervous system can reorganize in response to altered sensory input. So that's just what we talked about, learning new things. But here's the problem, is that the brain can adapt to chronic pain the way it adapts to other things. So let's say you have a chronic elbow pain. It's been there for a long time. So the brain's used to that pain, okay? So then, let's say the elbow gets fixed, okay? Elbow gets corrected, but you still there's no more tissue damage in the elbow, but you still have chronic pain in the elbow. Where's the pain coming from? It's not coming from the elbow anymore. It's coming from the brain. So the brain is adapted to that, just like it's adapted to play a musical instrument. It's been painful for so long, it's developed new cells and new pathways to perpetuate that pain.
So how do you undo that?
We're going to talk about that.
Good.
Okay?
It's not like an amputee that still feels.
It could be, yeah. Could be, yeah. So, pain may be partially or fully or partially in the brain. So pain may be coming from here more than here. Okay, so we're going to look at a quick video. Which is really going to explain this well from the person who researched this out. Wait a minute. Okay.
Experiencing pain is normal. Everyone experiences pain now and then. Pain is supposed to be a protective experience to make sure you stop doing things that may be dangerous. But chronic pain, that is pain that has persisted for more than 3 months, is no longer protective nor informative. Let's look at what chronic pain is and what you can do about getting rid of it. All pain is created by your brain because your brain has decided that you are threatened or in danger and need protecting. The interesting thing here is that you don't actually have to have any actual tissue damage to feel pain. And if your brain is not aware of tissue damage, you may not feel any pain at all, even when you've injured yourself. Chronic pain is the second most common reason people see a doctor and miss work. More than 1/3 of people with chronic pain become disabled by their pain to some degree. Chronic pain can be mild or excruciating. It can be episodic or continuous. It can be merely inconvenient or totally incapacitating. The pain can be from headaches or joint pain, can be neck pain, back pain, or pain from an injury. Other kinds of chronic pain include tendinitis or sinus pain, carpal tunnel syndrome, and pain affecting specific parts of the body, such as shoulders, elbows, wrists, hands, hips, knees, ankles, or feet. The common thing with all these types of pain is that the actual feeling of pain is always, 100% of the time, created in your brain. This does not mean it's not real. It's very real. But understanding that the pain itself is created in your brain has major implications for how you can get rid of it. And because pain depends so much on what you think and feel about the pain, it's very important you understand pain properly. Your pain experience depends on why your brain has decided you need to be protected, why it's creating the feeling of pain for you in the first place. It can therefore be very useful for you to try to figure out why your brain may be creating pain for you. What was happening at or around the time your pain started? What makes it worse? What makes it better? Why is this so important? Because we know that the brain can be retrained, so you need to use all the tools available to you to retrain your brain out of pain. Some of the keys to retraining your brain are staying active, staying positive, eating well, and sleeping well. Today let's look at why staying active is so important. Your posture and how you move plays an important role in how you feel and how you experience pain. Even as little as a short walk every day can help. If there are movements you cannot do because of your pain, you can still help yourself by imagining those movements. We know from neuroscience research that imagining a movement influences the brain in a very similar way to actually doing the movement. This can help to retrain your brain to understand that the movement is not dangerous, because imagining doing the movement will not hurt. You can basically trick your brain into giving you back pain-free movement. Play with these sorts of things. Make movement fun. Move in different emotional states, like when you're happy or grateful. Move outside in the sun, in the park with beautiful plants and flowers, or move in water. The movement of your spine is also very important. Yoga or simple spinal exercises can be great for this, and chiropractic care may be really important to help you move too. The main focus of chiropractic care is to improve the movement and function of your spine. This is so important because proper movement of the spine helps the brain to know more accurately what is going on, not just in the spine, but also elsewhere in the body. And chiropractic care has already well known in the research literature to help people who suffer with neck pain, back pain, and headaches. This is most likely because chiropractic care helps the brain know more accurately what is going on in the spine and body, and may help the brain to switch off the feelings of pain when they are no longer needed. So if you suffer with chronic pain, do your best to stay positive. Move often, eat well, sleep well, and go see your family chiropractor to help retrain your brain out of pain.
Okay. So, did that make sense? Okay, so here's the thing. Let's say if you have a movement that hurts every time you do it. So, what she's saying is that if you can imagine yourself doing that movement in your head, you're actually training your brain not to feel pain. Okay? Pretty powerful, really. So, I want to show you one other concept before we go tonight. So, I want everybody to hold up their hand. Okay. Do this and do this. Okay. So this is a model, your brain. Okay. This part here is the cerebellum. This is the part of the brain that regulates breathing, heart rate, basic life functions. Comes out of the base of the brain. The thumb is the limbic part of the brain. The limbic part of the brain is a part of the brain that gives us emotions. Okay. The four fingers are the frontal part of the brain, the frontal cortex. The frontal cortex right up here, which is really what makes us human and separates us from animals in many ways, is the executive decision. It's where we make decisions, where we think, okay, where we can reason. But the frontal cortex also controls and contributes to pain and inflammation. So when somebody is under so the frontal cortex wraps around our limbic brain and controls it, so we can make rational decisions and we don't do crazy things. Okay? You ever seen anybody under stress that doesn't think well and that just does stupid things? A lot of people are in jail right now because of that. So here's what happened. There's their limbic brain. They got under a lot of stress. I'm not saying how it happened. And their frontal cortex started disconnecting functionally from their limbic brain. So they weren't able to make rational decisions at the time. And when you're under stress and this disconnects from your limbic system, that's when you do crazy things. Okay? That's when you might pull a gun out and shoot somebody that you would never normally do under normal circumstances. So, how does chiropractic fit into that? Because we know, this is Heidi Habit that was narrating that video. She has a whole series of videos on our website. She's one of the top neurobiology researchers in the world. She's also a chiropractor. She's got a PhD in neuroscience. Here's what they're finding out, is that chiropractic helps connect the frontal cortex to the limbic brain. Okay, it helps reduce the stress in the body so that this can do this. Okay, because wouldn't you agree that we live in a pretty stressful culture where our brain disconnecting from our limbic system, our frontal cortex, pretty common. I mean, you see it in road rage. You see it all the time. Kids misbehaving in school. Okay, chiropractic helps that connection. Am I saying that it will fix every single disconnect? No, but it helps this connection. What else that you've learned tonight might help this connection?
Balancing fats.
Yes, good job, Sandy. Balancing fatty acids, that's right. Balancing fatty acids in the brain will help connect that. And I have a study. I didn't get it out to pass out, but if you want it, I can give it to you. It's a study on fatty acid imbalances in the brain and depression. And you look at many people that have chronic depression, chronic emotional issues. They have imbalance of fats in their body, and they need way less omega-6, way more omega-3 fatty acids. And so the right fats will help do this. Chiropractic will help do this. Regular exercise, like she was saying, movement will help do that, connect the frontal brain. I don't know if you guys are our exercises or not. I know Carmen does a lot of swimming, but for me, you know, I know that there have been times, and we all get in this funky state where we get out of bed and it just looks like it's going to be a really bad day, and you don't know why. Anybody ever had that before?
Yep.
I have. Okay. I remember one time I got up and I was just depressed for no reason. So I went out, I did my exercise routine, I forced myself to do it. By the time I was done, man, the depression had lifted, everything was good, I was ready to go. So exercise can do this as well, okay? So those are the things we want to keep our emotional brain connected with our decision-making brain so you don't do crazy things. So chronic pain, get your fatty acids balanced. If you're in an automobile accident, you definitely need chiropractic very soon after the accident to get that neck and nervous system straightened out. And by the way, one of the treatments for concussion, and this is in the literature, when people get brain injuries, high omega-3 fatty acids helps heal the brain, and that's in one of my other talks. And so those are the things that can really help. Keep past 7. Anyway, so the question I have now is what impacted you guys the most about the talk tonight? Anybody?
Well, that training your brain.
Yeah.
That's how I used to practice violin. Because I practiced it in my head over and over, and I could memorize a piece of music. So I buy into that. You can train your brain.
Yeah, good. So you're buying into what I'm saying. Awesome, because you've done it. Yeah. So then you can. So if we can train our brains to do that, maybe we can train our brains to get out of pain. You know, or you know, to reduce the amount of pain that we have just by well, exactly what you were saying. Going over a particular exercise or particular activity that we're not really able to do very well because of that. Is anybody else impacted by anything tonight?
I was going to say the same as what she
Okay,
did.
good. Great. So, go and spread the word about what you learned tonight. And in 2 weeks, we're going to do lifetime care, how to care for yourself for a lifetime. Good. Thank you very much for coming.